Welcome back to another episode of Late Entry. We are hosted as always by Remy LeBeau. Who is that?
What's going on? You know who it is?
Who's Remy LeBeau?
X-Men.
Which
That's your
X-Men?
clue. He has a staff and he throws cards.
Oh, that's Gambit's real name?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. We're getting put on
Educated
game.
that man.
I did not know.
Now you know.
Hey, what do you
Put
say?
him
He
on
said, I've been
game.
waiting my whole life for this. uh, I'm your boy Double Dose. Kyle is in a deep state of depression right now, which if if I didn't have to be the one over here fucking clicking buttons and hosting, it'd be Tope by himself tonight. This shit was rough. We're gonna we got some NFL to talk about. We got a little college to talk about, a little Draymond Green. But we're gonna get right into it with the Lions, dog. I was really excited. I had this circled coming into this week. I mean, if you've watched us before, you've heard I've been very much on the objective Lions fan this season. I've talked about a lot of concerns that I've had with the team, places that there's been some optimism, and I've kind of gotten into it with Kyle, gotten into it with Matt before over, how good are we? And one of my biggest things is that we've lost to the Packers, we lost to the Chiefs, and both of them were real ugly losses. And then we've beaten other teams, but it's no teams that I really think are that great. As the season progressed, we kind of talked about how no team is really that good. But I told everyone coming into this, I said, tonight we're going to find some things out. We're going against the defending champs. Even as ugly as things have looked for them at times, they still, I believe, were 6-3 before tonight. I was like, all right, it's time for us to find out what we really are tonight. And I said, when we leave here, we're going to know some things about both of these teams, on which one is good, which one is not. And before I get into talking about us, I just want to say the refs completely robbed us of that chance on one of the worst calls I've ever seen before. That was a horrific play, pass interference. The Chris Collinsworth, when it happened, he said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, if anything, that should have been offensive pass interference if you were going to call anything. And the ref doing it, like, I don't understand that. It wasn't egregious, and you know that by making that call, you're ending the game. The Lions, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but the Lions defense did everything they could tonight. They literally went out there, and we needed a stop to get the ball back. And that's all I wanted to find out was, with the ball in the hand, as bad as things have been, could Jared Goff drive down the field and get it done for us tonight? And then we would have known. We would have known one way or another what we are. Because I had, halfway through the game, I'm like, all right, look, our season is cooked. We're done. Like, we can't compete with these good teams. We're not winning a chip. We might win some more games, but we're not a serious Super Bowl contender. Then as the game progresses, I'm like, yo, as bad as it's been tonight, it's a one-possession game. We just got to get the stop. And then they get the stop. And the refs rob us of the chance to find out what each of these teams are made of. Can our offense, can Jared Goff, can we get it done when we absolutely have to have it? The Eagles defense, can they stop when they absolutely got to stop us from getting a touchdown? Can they stop us? And it's the refs that just robbed us of it. And I was disgusted. It took me some time after the game to even be able to come up with the words to come out here and talk to you guys about what I wanted to talk about. So before I get into the rest of the breakdown of the game, did you have any thoughts, Toph, on that call?
Like I was telling you before in pre-show, I could just quickly saw the PI calls because that's what it's kind of up in arms about. But you know me, I'm a believer. Don't put yourself in that situation because if you leave it to the refs, it ain't gonna go in your favor. Um, Whether if you want to call it push and shove it on both sides, make it more offensively. The team had ample tries to put themselves in that situation, going for fourth down, what, 5 times and not getting it.
Oh God,
So
yeah.
Dan Campbell, a couple, as you just saw with that score, that close, both defenses playing well, both offenses not looking good at all. Comes down to a couple of plays here and there. And to go 4 or 5 times is crazy on them, especially when you're in the red zone. I get it. I know touchdowns, do a lot more than 3 points. But 5 times, that's a large ample size. And if your offense is playing, at that level, you got to get the points, when you need it. And this has been my biggest, gripe with Dan Campbell is sometimes it's just too much, man. Jake Bates, he's a good kicker. I know he missed that PAT. Whole time I'm like, why does this team, have no points? And I looked at, Jake Bates. I don't think he's taking the field goal here. I'm thinking he was hurt or something while he's going for it so much. I do a little research myself. I was like, you gotta get something there, man, because even a couple. Sometimes you just gotta win. Get 5 field goals to get you a win. You base just ruin your defenses. All the effort they had that night, you kind of just do it to the wayside there. So for me, I think the offensively, we all know Mr. Force Multiplier. You know when he's got to do it, other than that pass to J-Mo down there, deep one across the middle. It's very pedestrian if you get Jared Goff off his spot just a little bit, since the whole game, it's going to get rough. Running game didn't do anything. Gibbs had a good game, but it's mostly just screen pass dump offs, which is good. But eventually, you gotta have a good balance attack in there. So I think every time I want to say the Lions, yep, I think to the team, this always happens. And I
Yes.
got to think back, it's like I don't know. I think they'll bounce back in there, but it is difficult to go from last year to this year. And like, I know this team is good, but when you get matched up with those better teams, it's happening consistently, at least this year alone.
Yes. I want to challenge one thing you said, then I want to ask you another question. I completely First of all, you're right. There's a lot of situations that we could have had some success on that would not have come down to this play. I do think it's a little bit different from like not leaving it in the ref's hands. It's one thing to like, we should have got, that should have been a hold in, or that should have been a PI. Well, we're on offense. You know what I mean? It's hey, we're looking for a flag. I think that's a little bit different when the ref is throwing a ghost flag at nothing, knowing it's going to basically decide the outcome of the game. You know what I mean? It'd be one
Yeah,
thing to be like, hey, we got held. Like, hey, where's the flag at? That was like the ref saw absolutely nothing and said, you know what? I'm going to end this game right here. He completely interjected himself into that. Um, Something that I've seen being brought up a lot, especially after this game ended. Do you think that pass interference should be reviewable, like challengeable?
um, I mean, can't you do something? Is it like within like the last 2 minutes you can't review it? Because I
I,
know
I
before they've done it, and like the first year they said you could review it. Like a lot of them weren't getting overturned.
I
Um,
guess I didn't think that you could challenge it. I
I'm
do think
I'm
that
pretty
this
sure you can.
okay.
I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I remember them, trying to review PIs in like the first year. The Sabres weren't really budget on it.
I really hate the whole not being able to challenge stuff inside the last 2 minutes. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's the time that you would most want to challenge something. The game is, if
Yeah,
it's a close game, it's happening within the last 2 minutes. I would be cool with not being able to challenge shit outside of the last 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes is when you gotta be able to challenge it, in my opinion.
I think it kind of comes down to like yes, you want because like NFL or just any kind of sports, like it happens, fast in real time. Then when I kind of think about it, like look at basketball. Look how many times like the game gets stopped and like those last like 2 minutes in the game. And it's like this game's went on for like another 20 more minutes because loose ball that they go on this person. Like sometimes it's just like almost every possession, they're stopping the game, reviewing it, and eventually it's just bad for TV. Now I get it for just, the fans' point and just watching the game. You want to put the best product in there. The other time, you also want to call a fair game as well too. I feel like for me, I would like to at least, if you want to do it 1 year to test it out, cool, let's see it. Then if you're getting games, like, PI there, PI there, because there's probably PI in every single play. It's just do they call it. Same thing like holding. It's holding every single play. It's just do they want to call it. So like I said, I know when you start to nitpick too much, it kind of takes away from the purity of the game. So, man, honestly, I don't know. I feel like there's good and bad to everything.
I think that when you've got a situation, just tonight as an example, and I'm not trying to sound biased just because I'm a Lions fan. Like, it's not just that. I think that when you've got a situation where you've got Packers fans in the division on Twitter talking about that was not PI. You've got the announcer, Chris Collinsworth, is like, what are you talking about? He said, if anything, that should have been the other way PI if you're going to call it. I think that when you've got something that egregious that everyone can see it except apparently the ref, and you then decide a game like that, I think it makes for a bad product. I think that with all of the stuff going on involving betting right now, with the NBA especially, I know the NFL just had some meetings trying to make sure that they can figure out ways to avoid this. When you have something like this that is so egregious that everyone in the world can see it, how does that make for a good product? Like, you know what I mean? I think that you're
Yeah.
tarnishing. We did not sit here and watch 2.5 hours of football. People stay up on the East Coast late at night to watch the game for it to end like that. You know what I mean? If it was a
Mhm.
real call, I got no problem with it. You're never going to see me come out here and say, like, hey, you shouldn't have called it because it decided the game and it was a real PI. But a ghost call is crazy. But that's where I'm at with the whole thing. Let me get into some breakdowns of the team. Once again, the defense and Jahmyr Gibbs, it's the only people that showed up tonight. And I want to thank y'all for all the hard work. The defense really held it down the entire game, and the offense and Dan Campbell kept putting y'all in bad position after bad position after bad position, and y'all stood strong and literally did your job the entire game up to should have been able to get the ball back if it wasn't for the refs. So the defense, shout out to you. You did your jobs. Jahmyr Gibbs on the screens and the little dump offs, like you said, Toph, absolutely lights out. The offense, the offensive line, and Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, y'all need to go home and look in the mirror tonight. This was a bad display from all of you. The offensive line, terrible. Bro, you can't hold up at all. Jared Goff is getting blitzed and destroyed on every single play. Are you kidding me? And we paying you all this money for what? To come out here and you know how you can tell it's bad? It was bad on 3 different fronts. The run game went absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Could not get a push in any direction. The pass protection, terrible. Jared Goff getting hit, like I said, every single play. But you know what else? How you can tell it was bad? The defensive line for the Eagles had, I believe it was 5 batted passes. You know what it means when the defensive line can bat the ball 5 times? The offensive linemen don't have their hands up. You can't reach up to smack a ball down if you got somebody in your shit. Like, are you serious right now? And it kept happening 5 times. What are y'all doing? It's one thing to bat a ball down. When it's consistently happening, the offensive line is not getting in them. Because if I got 2 hands here and I'm pushing you where I want you to go, how are you got your hands up? You know what I mean? It's beyond me. Dan Campbell, what the fuck was that tonight, dog? Everyone was all excited talking about, oh, he's calling the plays now. Look out.
He was
I
calling the
wish he
plays all
wasn't.
right.
I wish he wasn't. This was the most despicable performance I've ever seen before. Jahmyr Gibbs break off a screen pass. Get a good one. Your next plan is to run 3 straight halfback dives, and none of them work. Then you want to bring it out here and let Jared Goff throw on fucking 4th down. What are we doing here, dog? In the end zone, do the same thing. Like you said, Toph, 5 times we went for it on 4th down. At 0-4, when we went for it the 5th time, I said, you can't be serious. There's no way we're going for it right now. And yet, here we go again. And it wasn't working. You didn't call anything good, bro. Call more screens. It kept working. But no, we're just going to halfback dive, run some crossing routes, run this. Bro, the creativity is not there. And even down to the end of the first half, like, we had, I think it was like 16 seconds. And we just took a knee. Ben Johnson would have had us doing something, hook and ladder, some kind of trick play. Let's take a shot. What's the worst that can happen? You're already putting our defense in bad spots. You might as well let the bitch sing. You know what I mean? I just don't it drove me crazy tonight. The play calling was uninspired. It wasn't good. We did nothing to help out Jared Goff. And Jared Goff, I understand you were getting blitzed, and it's not all your fault. But bro, you missed some bad throws tonight, and it was like he was hearing the ghost the whole time. He didn't have anyone on for a second, and he still missed the throw. Too low, too far to the outside, too far inside. It looked terrible. and it it just hurts. And people, and this is where I get on everyone, all the homers talking about how do you not have Jared Goff in your top 10? Top 10 where? Top 10 where, bro? I didn't see one time tonight where it looked like Jared. This is what I talk about all the time. When it's not going well on the offense, can you deliver us from evil? You couldn't even drive the car straight. Like, I deliver us anywhere, bro. And no force multiplier, no help. It was Jahmyr Gibbs versus the world tonight on offense, and it was disgusting. I was so disappointed. But, and here's the thing where once again the refs robbed us. A sign of a good team isn't necessarily the fact that it's always going to be great on both sides. It's complementary football. The offense was terrible tonight, so the defense stepped up. And I came out here for the end of the game. I was thinking, look, if we lose this game, I think that maybe our season is done. Not mathematically. We're still going to win some more games. We're going to make the playoffs. But I don't think that we're ready to compete for a chip. And then through the defense's power and the fact that the Eagles, and we're going to talk about in a second, screwing up, somehow it's a one possession game at the end of this game, as bad as we've played this whole time. And I was like, yo, if we still find a way to win this, that's the sign of a good team. That's what happens with good teams is you might fuck it up this whole time and still find a way to get it done. And the refs robbed us of the chance to see how that turned out. And it hurts me. Do you have
Yeah,
anything to add? Go ahead.
yeah, really quick. I mean,
Yeah.
let me try to defend golf a little bit there.
Yeah.
Um, I give him props for, hanging it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but today's game reminded me of why the Rams let him go. The body language. Like sometimes you could see pretty early on how golf is playing. That was his narrative. If he's, body language is off, from the start of the game, and the Rams, they knew the rest of the game is probably going to keep going there. And like I said, in terms of play calling, they didn't help him out at all.
None.
We just saw the Ravens do a crazy trick play. I've never seen that one before. Ben Johnson would have cooked something up. You can't be doing the same, Monday halfback dive. Because you see the Eagles, they were struggling. If you that's what I'm saying. If you would have kicked some field goals, like Jake Bates, he can hit it from 60. I know sometimes you put it on, fourth down, you probably could have got at least 1 to 2 field goals, and now everything's different. Now maybe you don't got to go for it, five, fourth downs in a row because your defense is playing good. But if you're going to go out there, go for on fourth down and put them in a way worse position, which we just saw the Rams, they had their punt, Sips had to go basically the whole distance and they couldn't do it the amount of time in there. Possession, matters a lot. Momentum. You got to give your defense a break. For you to go fourth down 5 times and you still could have won the game, it could have been completely different if we'd have switched up the play calling. It's okay to punt. If your defense is playing good, get them back out there. Maybe give your offense some more time to kind of, formulate a game plan, cook something up. But in terms of the Eagles, they're getting healthy. Nakobe Dean did a hell of a job today. Jalen Phillips, since he got there, been balling out. Jalen Hunt, I mean, heck, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter just batted down everything at the line of scrimmage. Tom Brady, he had a very hard time when the pressure or the pockets collapse from the inside. That's going to mess up your timing. There's a couple, out routes that golf just missed really bad, especially on fourth down, throwing it at the feet. They didn't give a person a chance to catch the ball. So like I said, it was just a bad, execution was not the best from the lines, and that's definitely not, we're not used to seeing that, or at least this year. It's been more consistent, but previous year, fourth down is money. They got some kind of hook and ladder, or they just said, you know what, we're just more physical. We're just gonna push this line. We don't even gotta do something special. But sometimes you just think it's coming and just, outplay yourself, just thinking too much. Um, like I said, they'll be all right, but it's definitely Dan Campbell. Was this his first game? Like from doing play calls?
Second.
Second? Like I see
Yeah,
that
because
that's the crunch time. That's what I don't like about Dan. You know, when it gets to nitty gritty, there's something about it that just does not sit well with me personally.
and I agree with you 100% on multiple aspects. The first one is it doesn't seem like we've learned anything, and this is what I keep talking about with Dan Campbell and his style of calling the game. I don't feel like tonight showed that we've learned anything from the NFC Championship game, from the Cowboys game 2 years ago, from any of the situations where it's like Dan's the one screwing this up. I will support him when we went for in the red zone on fourth down. I support the idea of going for it because the defense was hunting. What do we have to lose if we turn the ball over on the 5? You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
we get a safety out of it. That's the only one I'm cool with, bro. Aside from, and even the way we did it, why run up the gut 3 times and then have Goff throw on fourth down? Maybe mix that up a little bit, but it's just predictable. It's because run. Okay, pass defense. It's predictable, and people kept saying that oh, I will say the defense is fine. This game it looks like we were okay without Aaron Glenn, but losing Ben Johnson and losing our center, that's had a lot more of an impact than people wanted to admit coming into the season. They were like, oh, Dan Campbell's got it all together. It's fine. I don't see that, dog. The play calling is not good. Even with Dan calling it, everyone to celebrate about it, because of the Commanders. The Commanders suck. They had no chance of winning that game. This is the defending Super Bowl champions. And our offense was awful. It was putrid. The defense stood tall, but the play calling was not good. And the decision making was not good. Like you said, we should kick some field goals, punt somewhere. It's tough. But the other thing too about Dan Campbell as well, we need to stop making stupid plays. We lost a point because J-Mo wanted to hump the field goal or the goalposts. In Bill Belichick's prime, are they losing unsportsmanlike? Are we getting unsportsmanlike calls?
I don't think I've ever seen that with them.
No, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like everyone wants to glaze Dan Campbell so much, and granted, he's earned a lot from us. I never want to sound ungrateful. From where we were to where we are now, it's a humongous difference. But to come out of a bye week flat and lose, and then turn around and we've got calls like that from J-Mo not being disciplined. Get the team together, Dan. Let's get our discipline together. On the Eagles side, yes, they are a super flawed team still. Their defense was good. Their pass rush is elite. Their offense has got some major issues. After all the yapping that AJ Brown has done, they made it a point to target him tonight. But still, I mean, there was multiple throws where Jalen Hurts had somebody open. He was not accurate. That boy would just sit back like a cannon and just whip that bitch toward the end zone and overthrow a receiver or Saquon by 10 yards. It was not good, and their offense did not look good. I don't think that they are the cream of the crop in the NFC. I think it's probably the Rams, the Bucks, and the Seahawks, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I don't feel like either of these teams are winning the Super Bowl. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see the Lions make a good push, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if this is the year. We might have to be like the Eagles after they went to the Super Bowl and they got their coordinators gone. Took them a year to bounce back, restock those coordinators, and make another run for it, which sucks because our talent is there. And I know that every year we wait, that window gets smaller, but I just don't feel like we've got it this season. And it drives me crazy. You have anything else on either of these teams before we keep it pushing?
Nope. Nope, I'm good. I got all my points
Okay.
up.
On another painful note, too, Packers win today over the
Giants.
Giants. Thank you. The decimated injury Giants that still Jameis had them one play away from tying up with us, and Jalen Hyatt blew it and let Jameis throw an interception to seal the game. The
Jameis
Packers have
going
been one of
Jameis.
the biggest. That was on Hyatt, I think. I know a lot of people are blaming it on Hyatt. It just makes Jameis look bad, but the Packers have been one of the other biggest disappointments. I was talking greasy about the Packers. I was saying that it was over for the NFC, that the Packers are going to run over everybody. The Packers suck. The Packers suck, dog. They lost to the Panthers. They lost to, I can't think of who the other team was. And then
Panther Browns. Those are the Browns as well too.
Earlier in the season, but they were on a 2-game skid. It was the Panthers and someone else.
Panthers, Browns.
I can't think of who it was.
Oh,
But
tied to the Cowboys.
Tied the Cowboys. But they lost before or after the Panthers to somebody as well.
Let me look it up.
Okay. But they did that. They're not inspiring me. Their defense has been straight. Their offense has not been good. Justin. Oh my God. Sorry. It's been a long day of pain for me today. Jordan Love.
Jordan Love.
Yep. I mean, I know he left with injury now.
Oh, Eagles just lost to the Eagles.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, 10-7.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that they're going anywhere either. And now, though, somehow the Bears are on top of the NFC North, sitting at 7-3. They win another close one. Ben Johnson, and I've told everybody this, and I said, Toph, you were on with me in week 3, maybe it was, when everyone was saying that it was over and start Tyson Bagent. And I said, can we give Caleb and Ben Johnson some time? And look at now, sitting here this far into the season, they're on top of the NFC North. Now, granted, they've beat some shitty teams, but once again, who are the good teams? Anyways, Bears are on top of the NFC North. I don't think that where I thought that we might send 3 teams to the playoffs, and we still might. I don't know if anybody's winning the Super Bowl out of the NFC North, which I thought was going to be the best division of football. It has been disgusting and greasy and nasty. Who would you have the most faith in of the teams from the NFC North?
The Lions.
I would be the same spot too, but it's not a lot of faith. Let's keep it pushing on to Spitgate 2, dog. So
hold on, really
yeah,
quick about
yeah.
the Packers.
What? Oh yeah.
A quick little point with the Packers, and you guys kind of mentioned it last week, but I didn't unload on it.
Yeah.
This is my guy, and I really do not think this guy's a bust. But what the hell are we doing with Mathew Golden? I don't know if they just have too many receivers. Like, I know Christian Watson just came back and he just had 2 touchdowns. I don't know if Jalen Reed being out was just this much of a difference, because since Jalen Reed's been out, the Packers have not looked like, when you're calling them, the world beaters. I know he's a hell of a slot, one of the best we have in the league. But for Golden to have, stretches, games, just one catch, he can't play in the slot. He's an outside receiver. If you don't have him on the outside, running the streaks, running the deep post, what he's good at, or just a simple screen, not these end arounds that you like to do every single game. He's too good, too talented for him to have 3 targets and just have stretches of just one catch, 2 catch, or barely any yards there. For you to finally, break protocol basically for this team and draft receiver in the first round, and this is what you do with it, is the GM should just be gone. This is a waste of a first round pick.
Can
that's
I?
all.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. If you got,
I want.
no
No.
one's want to go ahead.
I want to just go along with you on that. One of the biggest arguments I've had in our comments was actually over posting a video of me saying something very similar to that. And once again, everyone who watches us knows that I am also a Packers fan as well as a Lions fan. Don't ask me about how. We'll talk about that later. But I said the same thing. I said the exact same thing. And people got on me about that. Oh, he's not a pick for right now. He'll be good in the future. We got so many receivers now, and in a year or 2, it'll be good. And my whole thing was, dog, we just went and got Micah. We drafted a receiver in the first round. Everything about the Packers coming into this season screamed, we're here to win a Super Bowl this year or next year, not 3 or 4 years down the road. So if we're not planning on using him right now, why do we not use a first-round pick on something that can help us win right now? You don't use a first-round pick on a Super Bowl-ready team to go help you in 3 years. That makes no sense.
You a DB or something.
Bro, something that makes no sense at all. And they wanted to talk about that. But then here's the thing that where we're at really now. This was big last week. There's a lot of contention in the Packers fandom right now over, do we have a giant problem? Is Jordan Love not as good as we thought he was? And everything is just kind of screwed up because he went and destroyed the Cowboys in the playoffs a few years ago. And he looked like Aaron Rodgers, and his release looks like Aaron Rodgers. But he's not Aaron Rodgers. Or is Matt LaFleur not calling plays very well? So is Matt LaFleur trying to protect Jordan Love because Jordan Love isn't good? Or is Matt LaFleur kind of off of his game right now? But that's the big question that Packers fans are trying to reconcile over the last, I would say, 2-3 weeks. And when anything like that is being questioned, you've got giant problems, especially from a team that people thought were going to be contending for a Super Bowl. But to answer your question, yes, there is a giant Mathew Golden problem, and that needs to get fixed immediately. And I thought it would look better with Kraft getting hurt. Tucker Kraft, who was eating up all the targets, tore his ACL. You
I
would
just want
think,
to
hey,
call to Christian Watson then.
let's go ahead and get our first round receiver some looks. Nope. So I don't
Or
know.
at least put him on punt return. You got Romeo Downs returning punts. I'm
Yeah,
like, come on now. He's got to be doing something else because he was
that's because
down there
Romeo got
in Texas.
the helmet to sustain those
Oh man, no,
those punt
stop it
returns.
on this.
Hey, look, if you were, I think we talked about this before. If you were in the league, would you wear it?
Oh, you know, I told you no. I'm all about the drip, the swag. You know, in the words of Kirk Cousins, if I die, I die.
Hey, I like to be dripped and swagged out for my whole life, being able to pick out my wardrobe at 50.
Nope,
I would like to be able
nope.
to. I think swag is recognizing your grandchildren, but that's me.
If I get my clock clean out there running the slant, hey, I should be running that slant.
All right. Spitgate 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So I cannot believe that we're sitting here having this conversation again. I further cannot believe that it's happening in the same season, but we are at Spitgate 2. As I'm watching, I'm at work. I'm trying to keep an eye on the Packers game, trying to keep an eye on the Bucks versus the Bills. And I was watching the Steelers, but I had to, can only do so much at once. So I'm not paying attention to the Steelers, and I get an alert from my phone. I look down. Jalen Ramsey's been ejected from the game for throwing a punch. I said, what the hell is happening in Pittsburgh? And then I'm coming to find out. Jalen Ramsey says that Jamar Chase spat on him. Huh? Jamar Chase wouldn't do that, would he? Would Jalen Ramsey lie about it? Jamar comes out. I didn't spit on anybody. Nigga, do you know that there are cameras everywhere? An hour later, here's the footage, and you can very clearly see Jamar Chase spit on Jalen Ramsey. It is right there, caught on 4K. It's literally like the Cat Williams. Nigga, do you know that I can see you? Like, I couldn't believe it, dog. I was trying to trade somebody in our dynasty league for Jamar Chase. I texted him right back. Never mind, I'm good. Don't want those problems. I don't want to sit here and rehash the whole thing because we talked about the entire thing with the Jalen Carter and Dak about what spitting on someone means to them or what means to us and like what kind of emotion that should elicit. But all I'm going to say is I do not fault Jalen Ramsey one bit for swinging on him. And he said it. He said, you do something like that, it's not about football anymore, respectfully. Like you gotta handle that business. And so here's a few things. First of all, I had an issue with it with Jalen Carter where they only gave him one game. And I said the NFL needs to dead this. I said they need to make sure that, because remember, there were copycats in college that same weekend that happened. And I said they need to dead this right now and give him a fuck ton of games to make sure that this never happens again. Because when you allow someone to do something that would, with that reaction, and then that player inflicts some real bodily harm on live TV, and now we've got a huge scandal in the NFL. I said they need to dead this right now. And they didn't. They gave him one game, which they said he already served from missing the initial game, and let him come back. And now in the same season, we've got another player spit on somebody else. And if Jalen Ramsey would have took him and broke him in half like a twig, I wouldn't have been mad. So I don't know if they can do it now. I'm not sure how the NFLPA works with the whole situation of like you can give people different punishments or not. But whatever the most you can give to Jamar Chase is, do that right now for the sake of everything moving forward. Because this needs to not ever be something that any of us talk about again is a player spitting on another player during a game. Where are you at with it?
Man, I don't know if I'm just blind, if I don't see it. 'Cause I feel like the Jalen Carter one was like more egregious to me. Because at first when I watched it, I had to watch it a couple of times. You know, like when some people get in like an argument and they get like really heated when they start like, talking, like that like stream comes up. Because his was more of like that, like, all over the place kind of stream. So I thought maybe they were just getting into it. And he was just kind of just like talking. And in football, you get tired of that talking. I thought, it might just like came out an accident. So I honestly, God to honest truth, I don't even know if it was like, a real spit. I could be wrong, but that's just my take on it. Uh, Regardless, I feel about spitting. Ain't no place for all that. But I can't tell if it was actually, meant to do or if it was more just, in an argument, you getting loud and it just kind of, accidentally comes out of your mouth like that. Pause. That's that's my take. Like I said, I could be completely wrong, and if I am, y'all could kill me in the comments. I give you permission for it.
Okay. I feel you. Um, the video that I saw, because I'm not sure if we even saw the same video. The one that I saw was where I think Schefter was literally like another angle at it. And
Hmm.
then that was the angle that I saw. So I didn't see the first angle, but what I saw, I thought I could clearly identify. I feel like if you were just talking and spit comes out, I feel like you're not going to be able to see it in video. I saw spit from what I saw.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Once again, I don't want to, go through the whole thing again because we talked about the feelings toward this, but um, NFL, do your investigation. If you find that he did spit on him, give him as many games as possible. Bengals ain't winning shit this year, anyways. Go ahead and make an example out of this man. Sit him down for a long time. If they gave him 3 or 4 games, I think it was fair, especially as this being the second incident, not with him, but with this
Yeah.
season. I want to make an example that this is not tolerable. Because once again, if Jalen Ramsey took his helmet off and bashed that nigga's face in, I wouldn't have been mad at him. I'm not saying that violence is always the answer, but spitting, like I said, it's another level.
Hmm. I agree with you.
Uh, our boys, our not our boys, our boy got some action today. I hate that it had to come at Dylan Gabriel getting hurt. I wish him nothing but a full recovery. Speaking of wishing people full recoveries, I don't know the player's name, and I'm sorry, but there is a Jets cornerback who got shot today in the hospital.
Mm.
I think fighting for his life. Um, Want to wish you a full recovery. We're praying for you over here. That's crazy as hell. It's something like that happened, but hopefully you're going to be, Ricky Pearsall, Brian
Chris
Robinson
Boyd.
Jr. Yep, thank you. Bounce back from this and be back like you never left. So hope you're doing well. But Shedeur Sanders, he got in the game today, and boy, the 3 fans that were at Brown Stadium were hyped to see him. Um, I was hyped to see him. Everybody was texting me, and I was texting everybody. It was like alert, alert, it's happening, and it didn't look very good. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. It did not look very good. But 2 things: the Browns' offensive line is dog shit, and uh, it came out. This is the first reps that Shedeur has ever had with the ones on that team in real live game against the Ravens, which is a divisional rival. That is one of the hardest situations you could ever get thrown into. And for all that said and done, we did have a drive, what I thought might have been a Shedeur legacy drive at the end of the game. I was prepared to have my wrist up all night, but it didn't work out. But the positive I will say from that, his running looked solid, and he did throw a direct dart. I forgot to which receiver it was, hit him right in the chest. All that receiver had to do, which I know is easier said than done, was to bring it down. That would have been a touchdown. They would have upset the Ravens. It didn't wind up happening, but that pass looked nice. I thought he did it. Uh, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, and of course, that's all of our guy, bias aside, if we want to be realistic, did he think he was gonna get in the game? And do we think he's had any kind of real preparation to be playing any kind of meaningful ball game, especially against a division opponent like the Ravens, when it's always, ugly. It ain't gonna get perfect, even if you had like a real full week of normal preparation there. Um, I got to give him props for stepping in there. And then, if you didn't know, the Ravens are one of the teams that asks, I want to say asked permission to draft him. Um, but they wanted him to be like a backup for Lamar. And then, it's like any competitor. I know when you get drafted, not everybody has that privilege. It should be, I want to say like a right, but you should be thankful. If any team wants to draft you, but he believed in himself that he sees himself as a starter in this league. He's got the right to think that of him. I don't shun that man for that. But they talked. You know, I don't want to say that this was not premeditated but scripted. They're gonna say like how cool would it be or ironic that he gets in the game against a team that wanted to draft him, then he goes out there, and balls out and shows like, hey, this is why I chose, not to be a backup in there. Um, but like I said, he went for 4 for 16, like 60 yards and an interception. That's not great. That was very, trash, if you want to say it. But just like the flashes, he was
There
under
were
fire the
flashes.
whole game in there. He was trying to make, some magic work, the old Colorado magic there. I'm just happy that he got in there. And then I do like how Miles Garrett came to his defense in the press conference. Shedeur Sanders, as a quarterback and leader of the team, he decided to take all the blame for himself. Miles Garrett said, "No, we not gonna do that. It's a team sport. That's on all of us there." But I know him and Miles Garrett. They've been pretty tight. From the time that he's got there. Um, but I'm, you know, at least want to say, at least for next game, if Gabriel can't go, I don't think we're going to see the same performance, that we saw today. If he's going to get like, a full reps, he didn't get reps with no kind of ones,
Never.
barely at all.
No, no,
I'm talk
none.
about
None.
from like, yeah,
Zero.
literally like off season, training camp, mini camp, literally nothing. He may get maybe one snap. Like I said, I don't think he got anything at all. So of
Stefanski
course I
confirmed
can't
that he's
expect,
had zero.
I can't expect him to, be able to have, any kind of, rapport or anything, chemistry with anybody out there. If you just get one out there, the wolves say, all right, here you go.
Yeah.
But no, like, hey, good to see him out there. Shed a little tear in my eye there. Wanted to bump his music, to get the win. But I'm excited to see, he finally got in there. Now we can really kind of see, okay, can this guy play, in real meaningful NFL games?
I am not at all hoping that Dylan Gabriel is hurt for
Oh
real.
no, no,
Not
no,
at
no.
all. But I do hope that Shedeur gets a chance to start next game and we get to see what he's got. Even if it's not for the rest of the season, I would like to see you get one full week of reps with the ones and give us a chance to show the entire NFL how it looks for 1 week. I would love to see that. Meanwhile, the Ravens that were left for dead, we thought that their season was over a few weeks ago, myself included. I thought it was wraps. Would you believe they're only one game behind the Steelers right now in their division for number one?
Which is
They still
crazy.
have a good, I mean, their whole division collapsed. The Browns
Yeah.
imploded. Joe Burrow got hurt, and then they didn't want to go and get another quarterback until it was too late. If Flacco had been there earlier, it might have looked a little different, but they let Jake Browning
Mm-hmm.
lose them some games. The Bengals are down. So, I mean, the Ravens, like I said, one game behind. And then to make matters even better for their Cinderella run, and I am obviously not happy about this either, but they're talking about Rodgers got potentially broke his left wrist,
Yep.
which is just goes. You remember when Rodgers was they were playing maybe it was the Bengals before, and his offensive lineman was all happy and tackling him on the ground. He was yelling at him like, "Yo, you can't be doing shit like that to me. I'm fucking 40."
Right.
Well, yeah. Now we got hurt today, and obviously I'm sad about that. Y'all know Rodgers is my boy, and I was hoping that we get to see some stuff. Rodgers leading the division was happy for me, even though it was an ugly, ugly lead. Their team has not inspired me at all. But the left for dead Ravens might fuck around and win this division and be right back in there. And it's been
Mm-hmm.
anyone's league this season, so that wouldn't surprise me. Um, we got two more quick NFL topics. Um, I told y'all before, I think the Seahawks are going to the NFC Championship. And a lot of people were Rams fans. And I guess you could look at this two different ways. They played a very close game today. Rams came out on top, as most people I think thought that they would. Rams have been looking really, really good. I know Stafford's getting a lot of MVP love right now. But Sam Darnold didn't play great, and they still had a chance to win that game at the end of the game. It came down to a kick. Jason Myers could not make that kick. It was a little far out, but it was that close to the to the Seahawks pulling that one off. So I think the two of those, they're probably two of the top three teams in the NFC right now. And so I think we're gonna see. Which team would you have more faith in right now?
Rams, 100%. Because like I said, when we did our power rankings last Wednesday, like I know the Seahawks were good, but like I said, my biggest question mark is him at the helm. We
Yep.
saw the collapse last year, and for him to throw 4 interceptions, I know, yet you barely lost. A loss is a loss, but 4 interceptions is egregious. For as well as
Oh yeah.
you've played all year, now the Rams, they definitely should have, extended that out way more with 4 interceptions. But that Seahawks defense, it is legit, and for them to keep you in the game, even though you threw 4, if you'd have thrown 3, you might have won. But if he could do that against a team that you probably will see back in the playoffs or at some point in there, um, this will give me the most confidence. I still think the team is good, but I think this team is limited. Where, like I said, if your running game is shut down like it was completely, and he's got to do it, we've seen the Lions tear this man apart when he had to make the plays and put it all on him because it's really just JSN or bust on this team. If they can't run, and it's just Jackson Smith, and he had so I don't want to say garbage time yards in there, but that last drive when they were trying to get into position, he finally got loose, routing them up in there. He's a hard man to guard for the entirety of the game. Like I said, that man can run the entire route tree. He's not a burner, but he knows how to get open. But I just can't trust Sam Darnold. You know, I don't want to say I've been killing Matt Stafford all year, but he wasn't too high on my top 10. And he's been out there trying to, make me eat my words. So hold on, brother. I'm gonna need to change that ranking. But that boy's cooking. Bad back Matt, he's been hooping, man. Gotta give him his props. That was my biggest thing. I don't know how much longer that man's gonna take. One good sack. And Matt Stafford, he's had a long injury history of getting injured. So when you up there in age, it don't take much. But the Rams,
Yeah.
them black uniforms, whew, boy, them things look better late in person.
Oh, those are
I gotta
fire.
get me one of them. Stafford, I'm gonna get your jersey, man. That's gonna be my apology.
Hey.
I'm gonna get me one.
um yeah, the irony too about if you were gonna say that Sam Darnold turned back into a pumpkin, it was the Rams that he lost in the playoffs to last season. That is
Was
the
it really?
scary. Yes. Yes.
Oof.
They destroyed the Vikings offensive line. They sacked the hell out of him. It was not a
Mm.
close game. But that was them. So they might be the one team that has his number too, which is scary in the same division.
And they played
Uh
in Seattle, wasn't it?
I believe so. I'm not positive.
Okay.
Um Over to another player talking about MVP. I firmly believe that after me thinking it was completely over and there was no shot of redemption, I think that Josh Allen today got himself back into um, MVP, the MVP conversation. I don't know if he's leading it right now, but what a hell of a game he had today, man. He had 317 yards, 6 total touchdowns, 3 thrown, 3 run-ins. He did have 2 interceptions, but man, he was on fire against the Bucks. Final score 44-32. They went crazy in the first half. Those two teams put up 5 touchdowns. And here's a little stat for you: NFL players with 3 pass touchdowns of 25 plus yards in a game, 182. NFL players with 3 rush touchdowns in a game, 357. NFL players to do both in the same game, 1. Josh Allen today. That man was on fire, dog. He could not be stopped. He could not be denied. And you know what's crazy is, and tell me if I'm completely out of line here. I'm not talking about college. I'm just talking about the NFL. Josh Allen to me is like and I'm really trying to say this with it not being disrespectful because I don't want to diminish what this man did. I don't know if you know where I'm going or not. But Josh Allen to me is just like a more fine tuned, better Cam Newton.
No, I mean,
You
I
don't
think
think
that's
so?
pretty spot on. No, I mean, like, I'm
Oh, okay,
agreeing with, like,
okay.
I didn't think that was disrespectful.
Okay.
Even Cam
Yeah.
Newton's even said it himself.
Like the same power, the same run, the same hype and I guess aura to bring to a team, the same arm, but just
Okay,
getting
maybe
it done
not
better.
aura, but I know what you meant by that.
I'm okay, maybe not the same, but
Cam is out here dabbing on them folks, handing out
there was
football. That's a
nothing
different level, but on a
there was
football
nothing
field,
like
yes, I know what you
yes.
mean.
There was nothing like Cam's MVP run. I mean, he had everybody going. The dad was going crazy. Yes. Let me not say aura. I just mean that
Yes,
he brings that energy to his team.
the juice. Yes, I knew
Yes,
what you meant.
yep,
When you
yep,
said
yep.
aura, I was like,
But I
wrong
mean,
word there. But
he might not run. I mean, he's going to run. He's going to drop the shoulder. He might not run a linebacker over like Cam did, but he can run and he can throw. His throws, I think he's a little more accurate than Cam. Now, granted, I think that his team might be a little bit better than what Cam was working with over there too. But I mean, if you just ramped Cam up a little bit more, that's Josh Allen to me.
I mean, the 15-1 year should have won 16-0. His team was, oof. He had a team that year.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like Josh has got superstars over there too. They just,
No, 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 no.
bro, I don't know what's going on with Keon Coleman. I hope he gets it together, man. I really do.
The fact that
Healthy
the
scratch today.
two out of the three leading, he's probably going to get traded. I don't think he's going to be there next year. But two of his three leading receivers were running backs today. And
Yeah,
Richmond still throws 6 touchdowns. If you'd have told me Keon Coleman did not play, Kincaid was out, I would not have seen 6 touchdowns.
bro.
No way.
They elevated from the practice squad Mecole Hardman and Gabe Davis. They had Gabe Davis out there
Saw that.
catching passes from again.
That
It's
boy B. Cole,
nuts.
he playing for the Ox.
Yeah, I know, long time chief, but hey, you got to get in where
Literally.
you fit in, even if it's
Twice.
over with them. All right, let's keep it pushing. You want to talk about some college football, some South
Yes.
Carolina, Texas A&M. Lay it on us.
I'm gonna go on a rant about college football, but we're gonna start down there in College Station. Now first, I think everybody here, the late entry family, knows that you are not a college person at all. But are you familiar with the name Lenora Sellers at all?
Hmm.
Okay, so Lenora Sellers. Basically, if we could, rewind in time, go back in the hot tub time machine. Um, this man was supposed to be the number one pick, or at least in the top three. If he'd have been a first quarterback taken, if he were to speed up the NFL draft time, he was supposed to be the guy. Like I said, this man, in terms of just like, skill set, talent, he's 6'4", 250, 240. He could do it all. But like intangible, when I watch him play, I saw flashes last year. I saw it this year. I don't want to make this comparison. There's limited choice. He reminds me of Anthony Richardson. I'm sorry. I just say it.
Ooh.
Every week I watch this man. I just don't see it. I don't know what the scout saw. If it was just his pure size that could just made you fall in love with it, I get it. But anytime I watch him, I would not want to commit my first round pick on this guy, end up not panning out, and set myself back, probably another 5 more years. Yeah. Going there. Texas A&M. They're out there rocking. They have the number 3 team in the nation. If they win out, they'll be playing, in the SEC championship game. Um, I was at work, I had a long work week, and they were favored big. And I remember just, happened to walk by the TV, and I see a halftime 30-3. It says South Carolina leads. I said, man, I must have, there must be a typo on the TV. Let me check my phone real quick. Ain't no way. I saw 30-3. I checked. I said, oh my goodness. There's no way the number 3 team in the nation is losing at home. College Station was in there rocking. And I'm like, I had literally South Carolina, no, I'm sorry, not South Carolina, A&M money line. I said, they gonna come back and win. I said, I got no doubt in my mind. I remember driving home. I said, dang, let me check the score on that game. And I saw 31-30. I said, boy, ain't no way. They actually pulled it off. And it's funny because on Nightcap, they just had their wide receiver on an interview. And I didn't know that in our little draft, I picked the team. I had Concepion was one of my draft picks, and I knew like on the field, but I didn't know him like as a human being, as a person. I didn't know that he had like a speech impediment, and like the whole like interview, he was like kind of nervous, didn't want to talk. 'Cause I guess like a lot of people kind of bash on him because of like his speech problems. But after I saw that, I said, you know what? I'm a fan. Shout out to the young man. He balled out that game. He'll definitely be playing, on Sundays. He is one hell of a talent. But Marcel Reed, he has got a legitimate chance to become a Heisman. And we just talked about Fernando Mendoza last week. He had a Heisman moment. Um, Marcel Reed was supposed to be, a couple weeks against Texas. But his came a little bit early today. This is the largest comeback in A&M history. To score basically 27 unanswered. To shut out South Carolina. At that, they'll score another single point. And the fashion they did. Marcel, you can see it was a bit antsy. I think it was one of them kind of trap games. Like when they're thinking about we're number three team in the nation. We're gonna go in there, handle business, go out there, party with the boys at night, go on to next week in there. They definitely overlooked this game and they got punched in the mouth. The North Fellas looked pretty good in that first half, but second half they flipped the whole script. Johnny Manziel, my favorite player in college of all time, was at the game. He had a little halftime speech with the coach, Mike Elko. Hell of a job from A&M. But that game was amazing. I didn't get to watch it live. I had to watch the highlights, but man, that was definitely one of the better games I've seen, in my life. I'm gonna just say that outright. That was an amazing game to watch. We definitely got spoiled with college football this past week. Alabama going down, Michigan almost losing to the Brainiacs of Northwestern, having a last minute field goal to win the game. Bryce Underwood did not look good, but they still won the game. Overall, it was just an amazing slate, man. So shout out to college football. But A&M, Marcel Reed, salute to you, my brother. You played a hell of a game there, man.
Hell yeah. Let me another storyline from this game, and I'm gonna let you talk first on it, and I'll follow up.
Hmm.
Um, if you didn't see the video, and correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong, I saw the video before really having any context to it, but basically there was a I'm not sure when in the game this was, but there were players coming out of the tunnel, and the cop was walking in, and like you see the one I don't even know the player's name, so forgive me, but there was the one player on the left side. He tried to move over a little bit to the side. The other player wasn't even seeing it. He was just walking straight. And the cop walked in and fucking put his arms out like this and bashed into him, and then wants to turn around and get in the player's face over here yelling at him and stuff like that. And the player that tried to move over, he grabbed his teammate and just kind of pushed him away, and they got the hell on. But it's like, dude, are you serious? Like I said, let me go a second. But what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this was definitely another little, hot topic of the game. This they were definitely, in their fields. Like I said, this is literally at College Station. A&M's at home, and of course, it's like one of their police security guards in there. And everybody there, probably a fan of A&M. And if you're sitting there, getting beat down like you were 33 at halftime, you might be a little bit in your feels, just in your fandom. Sometimes, fan stands for fanatic. People forget about that part in there. And sometimes you let your emotions get the best of you. It is down south as well too. Nightcap made a little, I want to say a joke about it. Basically, if he could do this in front of, 105,000 people, what do you think he's doing, when you don't
Yes.
got that in there? He did get suspended. It's like I said, I don't, want to call this man, a racist in there. But like I said, that move that you did on live TV with, millions of people watching, that doesn't look good for you. Thankfully those players, didn't overreact. They had, the presence of mind in that moment to just like, hey, let's just get out away from there. Don't make this a bigger deal than it already is. But you can't put, basically just run into that player like that, like he didn't do nothing in there, just because they walked into, the tunnel. People do that all the time. If you're, going too fast, 'cause we try to slow down with cleats on, you could, mess your leg up doing like that. But definitely an uncalled for move. You saw LeBron James, he tweeted about it. Everybody was, had something to say about it. But ain't no play. You can't be doing that, man. We ain't got no place for that. You got no better than that.
I want to go a little bit harder than you on this.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
I think his he needs to lose his job, and here's why. I'm gonna break this down for you. We talk about down there, right? Or not even down there, but period. Someone
Mhm.
might be in their feelings as a fan, right? If a regular fan did that to a player, first of all, the reaction from the players might have been a little bit different. But a regular fan did that to a player, we'd be saying that the fan needs to be banned. There's no place for this. The fans need to keep themselves away from the players. This is not to be mingled with. You're not there to put your hands on them. Every so often, something like this happens in basketball and in football, where a player in the player, or, I'm sorry, a fan in the stands wants to go get too close to a player, wants to touch him, wants to smack him. That happened with Lamar. Remember, Lamar pushed a
Mhm.
fan recently for this. If it was just a fan, we would have said this is wrong. There's no place for that. You're not just a fan. You got a badge and a gun and a responsibility to uphold the peace and keep people safe. Not to go in there and cause a physical altercation with the player. Not to use your power to try to walk through him and then think that you're going to stop him and accost him afterwards when you walked into him in his space. That's a player's tunnel. I know you got access to it, but what are we doing here? There's no situation in which that's okay. And I think that, like you said, Toph, if you are comfortable doing that in broad daylight public, what are you doing outside of that? What are you doing in the shadows where there's no accountability? I think that we saw a snippet into that person's character. And I'm not saying that every person is defined by their worst moment, but I think that when we're seeing something like that, and it wasn't just the fact that you bumped into him, but his reaction. Now you think that you're gonna stop him? You're gonna arrest him for walking into you when you walked into him? And the difference was the player straight shoulder checked him because he wasn't seeing that you were gonna be in his space. The cop put his arms out. He put his arms out. You can see in the video. You braced for impact instead of stepping around. And you have a bigger responsibility as that. As an employee, as a person with a gun, as a person with a badge, I think that that's wholly inappropriate and gross. And I think that he needs to lose his job. And the last thing I want to say about this too is because you brought race into it, and I think that there's a good chance that that could be part of it. But have you ever seen like the studies that they talk about, or just the anecdotal experiences of people where they talk about? And I experience this a lot in Chicago because I'm in the city, I'm on sidewalks, about the fact that generally, and I don't mean this, and obviously I'm half white. I got a lot of white people that I love and care about are good people. But have you ever heard about the fact that white people in general do not move out of the way for minorities on the sidewalk?
Mhm.
Everyone else will move about the way, but white people will walk straight into you. They're going forward, and if you don't get out the way, you're going to shoulder check them. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just does not happen like that. And so lots of people, lots of minorities talk about that. Like, look, either I got to move out the way or we're colliding. And a lot of people are like, I don't move anymore. I just fucking bash into them. Well, now we just got a glimpse of that. And the cop very easily could have moved out the way. The one player stepped to the side. It didn't have to unfold like that. But you think that you big and bad. Hey, they're the opposition team. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go shoulder check them. Fuck you in my territory. What are we doing here? Like I said, just it wholly inappropriate, and I think that he needs to go personally. Do you think that that's too far for me to be calling for jobs or no?
Nah, man, I think after you kind of laid it out like that, that's because you made the point where, like, civilian police, higher standard, keeping the peace, because we've seen, almost every single year between, basketball, football, you got some kind of interaction with the fan, bad mouthing you, putting your hands on it. We had Kyler Murray last year against the Raiders. Like I said, Lamar Jackson, I think Lily week one. I don't know if it was the Bills or whatever player it was. I mean, we really just had that. Like I said, every year, something, some good interaction with the fan, but this is the first time it's been with a little police officer, middle of the game, broad daylight, prime time television, 105,000 people. If you'd have caught this man outside, at night, who knows what happened in there. So no, I don't think you're wrong at all for that take. I don't think that's, egregious too far. I think that's, justified. I think it's fitting.
I do want to, for all that said about, I'm not going to sit here and try to educate people on the whole history in this country between black people and the police, but lots of times when things happen, it's swept under the rug. And I do think that it's commendable that there was an immediate response of he's been sent home, he's been suspended, and we're letting you know as the public, we saw it, we're on it. Now, what we're on it means we may come to differing conclusions, but the fact that that was not like, hey, go sit in the break room and cool off and come back out here for the rest of your shift, I respect that. But yeah, aside from that, did you have more college football?
Um, did you want to go over the tweet?
Yes, yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah.
So,
So we'll end it with that.
okay, bet. So yeah, I saw something interesting, and once again, Toph is the bigger college football fan out of the two of us. But I saw two tweets, and I want to get kind of Toph's opinion on this. So the first one is at Breeden Fajoko. Alabama quarterbacks struggle at the next level solely on the fact that they've never really had to go through progressions and be real QBs at Bama. They all have been surrounded by speed demons and talent gaps. A lot of one look offense. This is why they struggle in the league. And then it was quote tweeted by Kyron Samuels. They've struggled so bad the last five drafted have earned almost $1 billion in the league in the last 5 years. And so before Toph goes, I'm just going to lay out what these five quarterbacks are from Bama. You have, in no particular order, Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts, Tua, and who's the last
Milrow.
one? Milrow, Jalen Milrow. Take off.
I mean, all five of those names you just named, vastly different, skill sets and quarterbacks as well too. Um, but there's another team that gets the same kind of treatment as well too. Down there in Columbus, we've seen it with, Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace. Justin Fields, right now. We had JT Barrett, Braxton Miller, like, all of these quarterbacks, like I said, Ohio State, always produces it. CJ Stroud. One of the biggest differences, between quarterback play in general, between college and, NFL, they're not running pro style offenses. A lot of it is heavy RPO. It could be triple option. You could be using the spread. Like very rarely are they going underneath the center. A lot of the times, these quarterbacks that are getting, drafted have to go back to running, single back, I form, where they're not, really taking direct snaps in there. They're used to in the gun, clap, Jackson Dart style, and getting in there. So, like I said, you kind of have to, like, go back, go through the basics in there. It ends up messing with your fundamentals, just proper, 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drops. A lot of the times, depending on what the coverage is, you already have pretty much, I go here, this play. You already pretty much have, before you even snap the ball, my first read, I'm going right to here. So yes, in terms of just, skinning the field, let me just list some of the Alabama wide receivers here. Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper, Kevin Ridley, Jerry Judy, Julio Jones, Henry Ruggs, Jamison Williams. I'm gonna just stop right there. There's a lot more names in there. But like I said, if you go to practice and you just take the five names I just named in there, ain't no DB guarding them, just straight up, man press coverage. You'll get in and cook. So you gotta know if I'm, Mac Jones, who probably in terms of just, just really good, defense. He was probably the best one out of all of them in there. Yes, he had Jalen Waddle, Judy, all of those guys, but you don't really got to do it. They make the whole job a lot more easier there. Um, that was his skill set. Bryce Young, the whole time pre-draft, they just like about, in terms of his processing speed, he's like a computer, and we're just seeing it, right now. I think it's a lot more different in the NFL because we're seeing, I don't want to say 1 year wonders, but we've seen so many quarterbacks, rookie year, look amazing. You're breaking records. Baker Mayfield, you had Jaden Daniels, you had CJ Stroud, and then you go to like, year two and so on. You're like, ooh, hold on, is this a fluke? What's going on? And like, CJ Stroud right now. But I think, the biggest part in the NFL, you just see it between, your coaches, your OC changes. I think they literally just said tonight, I think Jalen Hurts has had a new OC the past, 4 years.
That list was
And we're seeing
crazy.
it, it's coming to fruition there, where you see Patrick Mahomes, he's had literally Andy Reid his whole career in there. Like, he's not having so much, drastic change year to year to year. Justin Herbert, who, that's my guy, he had a god awful game today. But like I said, in terms of just, talent wise, it's hard for me to pick, nine other quarterbacks that like, okay, I can see he's got the size, the skill set. Like I'm taking that. I know that, he can throw the ball. Or you got Jalen Hurts, which a lot of people get on you about. Like I said, he wins the game. But like when I see it, you saw it tonight. He's just like it just looks bad. He overthrows. He plays scared. He does not want to turn the ball over. I was like, you got to give your guy these chances there. So that's like what I'm saying. Like I can't defend Herbert in the playoffs, but in terms of playing quarterback, I know he could do it. He just needs to have like the right coach, OC. Heck, you've seen ownership. Look at, these teams, Giants, it looks awful. Doesn't matter who your quarterback is. The Jets, if you just got a bad, whole just feng shui, in your building, you're already set to fail. Heck, you could say Kellen Moore might have been the best person for the Eagles. Now that he's gone, look at this team. We saw play calling with, Dan the floor. We're like, is it Jordan Love? Like, what is it going on? So I think in the NFL, like I said, if you got all these, great wide receivers, it makes the job a lot easier. And you're seeing, like at Baker Mayfield, this guy's bounced around all over the, NFL. But right now, Baker has never had just an all-star list of wide receivers entirely, literally since Oklahoma. This Oklahoma team, 5-star, he was cooking. But this man could still produce week in, week out with, he's got literally people in the stands. I think I'm about to call a pass today. Like, just imagine, if you gave Baker, those names I just listed. He's out there cooking. So, I know I could have went a long tangent right there. But yes, I mean, like I said, if you got, these all-star wide receivers, 5-star, $10 million NIL deals, you're good. These are, the cream of the crop, especially, in college. You've seen like, D1, D2, D3. That's a different level of speed, strength. Like it is hard to just match up with this human being because they're just much faster than you, bigger, stronger. So it just makes it a lot easier. It's just pitch and catch up there. It's like playing 7-on-7 flag football. It's Madden. It's on rookie. You got maxed out state. You like a mutt player. You got someone that just started this team, fresh patch. He's got 60 overall. Like you're getting cooked. There's not too much you can do.
That was a good point. Turning that on Ohio State. I didn't even think about that, but I mean,
Trust
you're
me, I
right.
hear it all the time.
You've got.
And
I
it's
mean,
hard to
literally.
defend.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, and correct me if I'm wrong. You only have two in the league right now. You've got C.J. Stroud, who might be something, and you've got Justin Fields, who I mean, it's been up and down with him, but that's the only two I can even think of.
I mean, you
Um,
got what's his name, Howard, but he's back
oh,
up for
Will
the
Howard,
Steelers. But
yeah,
yeah, Will Howard. But in terms of like playing right now, yeah, it's just those
yeah.
two.
Whereas at least there are five from Bama that are all starters
Hmm.
too. I mean, Mac Jones fringe. I mean, behind Brock Purdy, but
I mean, you could say
um,
right now, like, look at Mac right now. I know Purdy just
oh
came
yeah,
back, but man, Mac Jones looked like he could. Some of them teams could have used Mac Jones. I
oh
don't care what you
absolutely,
got. The Raiders, they can't get rid of Gino. Mac Jones, I think he at least deserves another chance. If it
agreed.
fails, oh well. But for what he did, and that mop up duty, keeping the team afloat, I'd give him a chance.
You know who I think needs to sign him in the offseason?
Ooh,
The Vikings.
man, that's a whole
Look,
nother topic.
I'm
That
just, I'm just, I'm not trying to detour. I'm just saying, look, if
no,
you've
no, you're
got
good.
the potential struggles of a JJ McCarthy, you've got Kevin O'Connell up there, because I'm
Hmm.
thinking of he needs to be with a quarterback guru. That's why it's working out with Kyle Shanahan right now. You've seen people go to like, Sean McVay and things work out. I
Yeah.
would think him up in Minnesota, that could be something.
So we're
And
just
it could be a nice security blanket if JJ struggles. I'm not saying get rid of JJ. I'm saying if it goes bad.
the only problem I would have with that is Kind of reminds me of like a Tom Brady, Jimmy G, where he's kind of like always looking over your shoulder.
Right.
Because like if you keep, like I said, I mean the reason why they got rid of Sam Darnold because you just drafted this guy, I think with the ninth pick. Like he has to play. If you
Okay.
don't think he's the answer, then by all means, Mac Jones, he's still young. You could get him probably for the low, probably like a Daniel Jones type deal. And if he ends up cooking like Daniel, like Ant-Man, you gotta go. We got a
Yep.
guy now. So like I said, if you think that's the play for your team, you got to do it. You're probably gonna lose. Well, definitely not gonna get your same draft compensation. You're not gonna first round pick. It's probably gonna be a third or fourth. But if you think JJ is not the answer, I know that sample size hasn't been large. He's literally always hurt. I don't think you're necessarily wrong with it. It's just from a
The
team aspect, it sets you back a lot.
the other one would be make him the successor to Matt Stafford in LA.
That oof, that'd be bad for the Niners. Just let that man leave, go to the ops. Right there. That's
um
tough.
back
But
to
I definitely
the
think Mac, he got to get a team, man.
college thing real quick. That was something I really was curious to see how it would progress because we're talking about throwing to these world star athletes. And this is the best thing they ever did for him, too. The Bengals, dog, when they got Joe Burrow, they paired him with Jamar Chase and T.
Yep.
Higgins. And now you right back to LSU. Like, you know what I
I
mean?
mean, and,
Because,
and Higgins was good before Jamar got there, but I remember like late that year they won a Penny Sewell. I said I get it, but I said those two had magic down there in Louisiana. I said, if you got a chance to get him, you go get it. You'll figure it out. You know,
yeah.
I don't want to say I called that one, but I was like, yeah, you go get his teammate, his boy, and they're gonna create some magic.
Last topic of the night, and this is just a quick fun one. For those of you that I don't want to say celebrate the downfall of Draymond Green, but I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Draymond. My man's has been bitched out 2 nights in a row. Uh, if you haven't seen the video yet, you need to go and find this.
Uh,
Just go into Twitter, type in Draymond and Wemby, and watch the video that pops up. Draymond is yapping at Wemby this whole time. And so Wemby says, okay, bet. I'm like 3 feet taller than you. Grabs the ball, spins, and yams it on his head, and then gets in his face and starts yapping back. And then he said in the post game, he was talking about, yeah, I mean, people talk to you a certain kind of way. You just gotta like it is what it is. And it's like, okay, that's how you do it to him. You know what I mean? Go yam it right on him, and then talk that back to him. And Draymond's someone that needs to have somebody check him too.
mm-hmm.
Um, the other thing with Draymond too, now tonight he got in an altercation with some fans because, and this is so foul, but it's also funny. They were calling him. He said that they were calling him a woman's name, and he wouldn't say who it was. Well, I think the fan actually came out and said what it was. They were harassing him, calling him Angel Reese because he keeps getting rebounds but no points, no shots. I was like, oh my god, dog. Like I said, it's foul, but kind of funny. You have any thoughts on on either one of those?
I'm glad that Wemby put Draymond in his place. Because we know Draymond always talking, always yapping. And, he wants to be quote unquote the bully. Psyching Jordan Poole, but you don't want to mess with nobody bigger than him. Wemby, I'm glad that he's toughened up. Been a little bit, well, not even a little, a lot more physical. I gotta say, I ain't never seen something like Wemby. That boy is straight out of 2K. You just a young little jit. So let me just make 7'7", handles 3-point shot. He is literally a video game character in real life, and it's a privilege to just watch that man. Every night, just taking the ball up, hot, hot, tween, step. I'm like, oh hell no,
Yep.
nah, get me out. This dude he's ridiculous, man. Shout out Wemby, Draymond, hold that L, my dog.
Hey, Wemby is the last person Draymond wants to mess with. Because let's
Yeah,
say that
no, I don't want
Draymond
them
was up to his
problems.
normal antics and want to start shoving somebody or getting to make it physical. I hope y'all didn't forget Wemby was training with the Shaolin monks over the summer. Wemby gonna put him into a pretzel, dog. He gonna fold him up and get him up out of here.
He said,
That
"You
is
can
the
run the
last
ones in
person
the
anybody want to
dojo if
mess
you
with
want to."
in the dojo, dog. He gonna beat your ass. You in there looking like It Man. 7 feet tall, that wingspan. You're not gonna touch him, dog. You're gonna be
You
holding you
look
back
like
like a look.
Bruce Lee and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out here.
All right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
I'm good tonight, man. That was a good one.
Hit us with the outro, Toph.
Hey, late entry family, you already know the drill. As I always say, tell your mama, your daddy, your grandma, your auntie, your homies at the lunch table, your teacher, your little fine shit, all of that stuff, man. Let them know. Oh, and on that note, lay entry, we out.
Peace.